I've been on a health kick lately with the wedding and then just realizing it was time to start eating better in general, which is why I love Washington red raspberries. They are clean, simple, and a seriously delicious way to add more nutrition to your day, whether you're trying to clean up your snacks or build better meals. They're American grown, picked at peak ripeness, and frozen within hours to lock in nutrients like fiber, antioxidants, and vitamin C. And they have no added sugar, just fruit as nature intended. Instead of my typical breakfast sandwich, I've been doing a red raspberry smoothie, and it's been an excellent source of fiber because, fun fact, raspberries are one of the highest fiber berries. Want to discover new ways to use American frozen red raspberries and get more details on where you can grab a bag of these delicious berries? Go to redraz.org. That's redrazz.org. You'll find recipes, health tips, retail locations, and everything you need to make frozen Washington red raspberries a regular part of your routine. And don't forget, look for Product of the U.S. on the bag. Some of my favorite products made with Washington red raspberries are Costco Kirkland Signature 3-Berry Blend, True Fruit Hyper Chilled Chocolate Covered Raspberries, milk or dark, or Smucker's Raspberry Jam, peanut butter and raspberry Uncrustables.
Hi, I'm Yue Xu.
And I'm Julie Krafchick.
We're active daters turned dating insiders.
Here to dive into everything modern dating and relationships.
Welcome to Dateable. Hello, friends.
Welcome back to another episode of Dateable.
We are talking to another one of the longest running podcasts, dating podcasts that is in existence. And we always pride ourselves on being one of the OG dating podcasts. Like, I really can't name that many that are still around.
No. And You Up, that's the podcast that we're referring to. Jordana Abraham and Jared Freed are the hosts. So you may be familiar with them. We've actually had them individually on our podcast before. We'll link those episodes in the show notes too, so you can go back and listen if you want. But this is our first official foursome, all four of us together.
They've been around since 2017.
Yeah,
2017. It's about a year after we started. And we constantly get referenced either on someone's talking about You Up and they reference us, or someone's talking about us and they reference You Up. So it's nice to have all of us together now in one room to compare notes.
Yeah, and it was fun to reflect back on our own stories, because this is something that Yue and I have done often, that we've gone through different phases of our own relationships on the podcast. There were times where we were both single together. We were one of us single, one of us in a relationship, both in a relationship, back to flip-flopping between who's single and who's in a relationship. And now one of us is married, myself, like Jordana is also married. So we kind of had the range of experiences, and it was fun to listen to theirs. And we also got the pleasure of being on You Up. So if you are actually a listener coming from You Up, welcome. We're so happy to have you. And if you're not, if you've never heard of You Up or listened, go check out our episode, because Jared especially had a ball with Yue being the officiant of my wedding.
He was really into it. But he won't do it. He won't be an officiant, not to give the whole thing away. But he was very curious why someone would agree to be an officiant for a wedding. He's hilarious. I mean, he's a comedian, so always worth checking out their podcast and also Jared's own content, because he is so hilarious and their dynamic is wonderful. Like, you have married for a while now to, Jared, who is in the trenches of dating, but he's changed quite a bit from the last time we had him on the show. He's gone through a few relationships and gone through some of these learnings that he gets to share on our show.
And I mean, obviously this is a funny episode, but it actually does get very vulnerable and relatable of life not always looking like you thought it would at a certain age. And, I think too, it was a real treat. I mean, Jared is funny because he's like grew up in a town that's like not far from me. So his like Boston sense of humor gets me every time. But Jordana is actually the co-founder of Betches. And I feel like this was so monumental in like my 20s. Like I read the Betches books, like I had a nice time in Other Lies. And like some of those, like it was like comedic dating advice, but in always a comedy style. And they were like kind of like the real creators of meme culture. Like I was trying to explain to my husband like what Betches is. And I was like, I feel like they were like the early Instagram, just like captivating pop culture in a way that like hadn't been before. It was hard to like describe their like cultural impact, but I feel like personally they have made such an impact.
For women, specifically.
For women, yes.
They're kind of an media empire, and I think they really encapsulated the millennial woman. It's sort of the, I don't want to give a damn, but I also give a damn sort of conundrum that we always face. And I always got that from their memes. They're kind of sarcastic and feisty, but at the same time vulnerable, like unveiling a little bit of what we're all thinking inside. They just really captured our audience as we got through our 20s and 30s.
I think that's why he probably hadn't heard of them as much. Well, first of all, he doesn't have Instagram, so that's one piece, or does, but never literally can't sign on it because it's not on his phone. But I have... I feel like it was such a millennial woman. I agree with you on that.
Yeah. What would your partner do? Or what would your husband do if he was forced? Okay, he's stranded on a desert island, and the only way to get off is to go on this one Instagram account to find the map to get back.
Oh, he would do it. He would do it in that case.
Okay,
it is
that'd
funny,
be the only
though.
case.
I feel like there's always these times, I don't know if this happens to you, like we're at some place and they're like, we'll give you a free lemonade if you like us on Instagram. Yeah, and he'll go over, he's like, cool, free lemonade. He's like, no. And I'm like, I'll do it. Like I have like 10 Instagram accounts. Yeah, like 10 lemonades all around.
No thanks. He's
follow
like, it's not even
and
worth
unfollow, like 1 second later.
But he has to download. So that's where it's not worth it for him.
So I went camping this weekend with a bunch of families, and like it was probably like 10 different families. And most of them had kids. It was like me and one other that did not. And we had this whole conversation, you know, after a couple bottles of wine. Kids are mostly asleep at this point. And it was like this conversation about like basically how it's totally natural to hate your partner, like despise them the first year when you have kids. Okay. They were like, you just need to celebrate that you got through the year and recognize like it's not forever, but like hating them is totally natural. And I was like, okay, it's nice to know that other people go through it, because no one ever wants to say that, right? Like no one wants to be like, oh my God, my partner, like especially this really difficult part of life. But I'm also like, as someone that just got married, I'm like, it's kind of depressing, you know, like especially for us that might not have like the longest run time, but maybe it doesn't matter because some of these people had been with their partners for years and they didn't avoid it. But I'm like, so you're saying that we just got married and we're this like happy bliss and that we're gonna fucking hate each other like in a year?
Just for a year. Don't worry about it. You'll get over it. I've heard kind of a similar thing. My friend said you hate a lot of things in your first year after having kids, and you just end up taking it out on your partner because they're always there.
Yeah.
Which makes sense too. Like back in the day, you know, you like live with a huge family and you get to spread that anger and frustration. And now it's just the one person who has to take it all.
I think some of it too is like navigating styles. At least that's what I was picking up. Clearly, I have not been through it. But what I was picking up from some of the conversations is like, you know, I think motherly instincts too. Like you don't want to like necessarily put someone in control if you don't feel comfortable with them. That to me, it's like the navigation of that, of like, okay, this might be my way and this might be your way, and both of our ways might be correct. And I mean, I've seen this like beyond a year, things fall apart with this, but I was like, this is kind of like a bleak look though. I don't know. Like you do all this dating and relationship stuff to get to the end goal, to just hate the person you're with.
I know. What was your takeaway though?
Ooh, I don't know. I got like a little like anxiety ridden from it, to be honest.
Here's the difference. You can go through this and be like, I really fucking hate my partner and be conscious of it. Or at first you're such a blur, you only notice it after it's over.
Well, that's true. And I guess like if you're in the mindset of this is only temporary, things will be better, or I'm just like, we're just navigating a rough time, then I think that's different. And yeah, clearly like some couples come out of it and are in good places. I'd say like all my friends, at least on the surface, when we're all like camping and stuff, like they seem like they're in good places, which is why I was like, oh, I'm kind of surprised that like that mentality existed. But not everyone comes out of it too, you know, sometimes you don't.
Right. I appreciate the honesty though. I wish more people would talk about that because it is the reality. You're dealing with a third energy. I find this in my current relationship, even with Mojo, my dog. It's like when you have a third energy in a relationship you're trying to protect, it's going to create conflict. It doesn't matter what that third energy is.
That's interesting. I think about it too. It's like the different phases of a relationship. Like the beginning phase, you're just like trying to like understand each other and learn more about each other. And then you get into like more of a comfort stage. And I almost feel like you're like now thrown back into that stage of like, okay, we have this third person here. We have totally different life challenges. Now we have to almost like relearn each other and our styles and how we navigate things. And we're kind of thrown back into it.
And what's so wild to me about having children is you have no idea really what your parenting style will be like till you have the kid. Like you can hypothetically talk about it, but you don't know till you have this living, breathing thing in your house that you have to take care of.
I know. And one of my friends was talking about like her like cousins getting divorced because like his wife just like couldn't do anything. Like she like just basically was like, I can't prepare lunches and I'm leaving shit around. And I'm like, oh my God, what if I leave stuff on the floor? Is it over?
Is it over?
And I'm like, it has to be more than just that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe.
No, I don't think it's it's what they'll say on the surface. There's definitely more to all of that. But at least you get to look forward to a new challenge together. That's the silver lining.
And you, like being naive, you're like, we won't be like that.
I know, everybody says that. Or you look a child and you go, I would never raise a child like that. And then when it's your turn, you're like, take the fucking iPad. Just watch the iPad.
I just thought it like related to this too, because like we've been doing this a decade, right? And clearly we're so different now, and we can look back at like the earlier times and reflect so differently. And I'm just like, what happens in the next 10 years? Like I'm just gonna be like, none of this matters. None of this matters at all.
No, honestly. Like when you are bringing up another human being, it does put things into perspective. But it's good. These are life's challenges, and we've been doing it forever. So it doesn't mean it can't be that hard. Like, you know, just like, so many people have gone through this, so it can't be that tough.
On another note, though, so my partner also never uses WhatsApp. He just doesn't like the Facebook Meta suite of products.
Got it.
But for my bachelorette, you guys had him install WhatsApp. So there was a WhatsApp group for this camping trip. And I was like, look, you should join the group. You know, like, first of all, sometimes I could miss something and then you won't see it. Then also, like, you're in it, you know?
Yeah.
So I didn't actually have him as a contact in WhatsApp because he didn't have it even installed in his phone. He had to go install it. And then he found me and he sent me a text that was like, you up? I thought it was funny because one, we're doing this podcast, but also like, oh, I mean, like clearly there's like the humor of you up, and that's what got them for the podcast. I'm like, do people actually type that with the U anymore?
I don't think Gen Z does. I think it's like a total millennial thing.
It is, but it was such a thing. The U up was such a thing.
Yeah, millennials are like you up at like 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Gen Z is like, I'm asleep. Like I don't. No one's typing that. We're asleep by 10.
And the U, okay, does Gen Z do like the letters? I feel like that's not a thing anymore.
But I think they use a lot of abbreviations and acronyms though.
Yeah.
I don't know if they use the U like that. I don't know. I feel like such a grandma talking about what are kids typing these days?
I have had this combo though with my partner that it's like sometimes you actually have to expend more energy to do not like the you, I guess that one's a bad example, but maybe a little because you're like you would just spell it.
Yeah.
And now you're like, oh, I need to do like the short form.
Well, my phone would just autocorrect. Like it wouldn't even let me type a you. You know?
So you have to like actively.
Yeah, it takes more effort. But my phone also knows me. I guess if you are always typing you up, it probably just auto completes for you. Who knows? But speaking of Gen Z, speaking as a grandma talking about Gen Z again, I was watching this news segment about what Gen Z values these days. And at the top was their job and their career. It was like number one thing that they care about. And the last thing care about is kids. Having kids.
So, okay, this is my criticism with all Gen Z research, because I feel like this is probably for every generation that happened.
Yeah.
Is it just the age that they're at? Because I feel like when we were millennials in our 20s, I was not thinking about kids and I was very career focused. So like, is this actually a trend? It's something new, or is it just the matter of time of where they are in their life?
They compared it to millennials at the same age, and it was like reversed.
Interesting.
It was like marriage, kids, and then job, career. But for them, it was like marriage and kids were last and job and career was first. But I always heard Gen Z doesn't want to work. So I was really surprised by that. Like, do they really care about their careers? And the other thing with like Gen Z is, doesn't it span such a large range?
Yeah.
Like you could have like barely graduated from high school.
That's why, I don't know. I personally, all those the data jet like that, I just use it like with a grain of salt sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. I thought it was funny, like an 18-year-old being like, I really value my career, but not
aspirations, you know? Okay. Well,
good.
We're excited to get into this episode. It's always a good time with these two. It's like we were just shooting the shit at brunch or something. It was fun.
Very fun.
And before we get into it, of course, go pick up How to Be Dateable, our pride and joy.
Our baby that we birthed, but I don't know. I didn't think we had that much hatred for each other when it was born that first year. Because once it was born, we didn't have to care for it.
Yeah.
It wasn't like keeping us up at night.
We're like, bye.
Bye. Yeah, bye, baby.
Into the world
Good
you
luck.
go.
Good luck at Barnes & Noble.
Yeah. We visit it from time to time.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, make sure to go pick up How to Be Dateable wherever books are sold, but you go to howtobedateable.com as well. Well, before we get into it, let's take a minute to hear from our sponsors.
Fall is in full swing, and it's the perfect time to refresh your wardrobe with pieces that feel as good as they look. And luckily, Quince makes it easy to look polished, stay warm, and save big without compromising on quality. Now, Quince has all the elevated essentials for the fall. Think 100% Mongolian cashmere from $50, washable silk tops and skirts, which I have many of, and perfectly tailored denim, all at prices that feel too good to be true. Why? Because they partner directly with ethical, top-tier factories, and they cut out the middleman to deliver luxury quality pieces at half the price of similar brands. I think Quince has become my one-stop shop. They're just pieces that I keep reaching for over and over again. And one of those pieces are my linen pants. They're just like the perfect transitional piece from summer into the fall, which is so great for here in LA. Keep it classic and cozy this fall with long-lasting staples from Quince. Go to quince.com/dateable for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/dateable to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/DATEABLE.
Okay, let's hear it from Jared and Jordana.
Move over Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, because I think this may be the biggest collab in history. You Up and Dateable, right? This is bigger news.
Huge.
Welcome to Dateable. Where's our rings? Where's our gigantic rings that we all get to have? But Jordana and Jared, so nice to have you both back on Dateable. It's been a few years. A lot has happened, and we're going to dive into all of that's happened.
Love it. Thanks for having us. We're excited to be back.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. We just taped an episode of You Up. It was so much fun, so easy, like family. It was really
Exactly.
great.
We speak the same
Yeah.
language.
Yeah.
We do.
We do.
And I think this is the first time we've all been together. We've had both of you separate. So this is kind of fun. And I mean, your podcast has been launched close to ours back in 2017, right? And so you two have been dissecting modern dating for years. How would you say maybe both of you can share like that has changed your own relationships or expectations in dating?
Well, I think for me personally, it's made it's probably made it harder for me. I
Hmm.
just think like dating, relationship talk is generally, you know, something that a lot of straight women like. It's not a lot, so you hear, and also they're that not for bad reasons, they're just more interested in the topic. And I hear the problems of every woman ever, and I've heard every problem, and I kind of know exactly. It's weird, like there's no blissful naivete for me. I know. And when I hear people rail about someone they're angry about, and I'm in the middle of doing that same exact thing, it's hard to deal with. Like, I think sometimes a little, being a little naive is nice, because it allows you to, go forward in your life and be a little delusional and a little less practical, which is necessary in dating. So I think I sometimes that, and I'm not blaming, it's, my choice, but I'm saying that's been hard.
Has it helped at all though? Like, has it given you insight to be like, okay, I've heard this from the other perspective. Maybe I can look at it differently.
Yeah, of course. It's definitely helped.
I think it also helps you, like, not to answer for you, but I feel
Sure.
like you're kind of like, if I do this, now I know how someone might interpret it differently.
Right. Well, but
Yeah.
that, I guess it could be looked in two different ways. Like, you know, offering, let's go get breakfast after spending the night at a girl's place. Like, that's like just a real, like, cartoonish dating thing. And, you know, 25, 26, you go do that. You're like, what? We're just getting breakfast. And, and then as you get older, you kind of learn, well, that breakfast was like really like a thing for me, on the other side of that.
Right.
That wasn't just breakfast. And it's
Mm.
like, I'm sure for a lot of people that just breakfast that was nothing to that guy turned into like, wow, we actually do connect, and they end up getting married, and it never becomes like, oh, I just thought it was just breakfast, and, I think that's the good part of being a little delusional and a little naive, but then also, because you did this thing that you never would have done because you didn't think of all the ramifications. And it's also good to think of the ramifications at 40, that if I was to ask a woman to breakfast the next day or come meet my parents, it is more important. Like it's good that I know those things. So it
Yeah.
goes all ways.
What
Yeah.
about you, Jordana?
Well, we started this podcast. I was a few months into dating my now husband, and I almost wish that we had started it earlier, because I feel like I learned so much from Jared about like the way men think about things that I was thinking about completely differently, or just not putting at all like the amount of weight on so many things, and so many things that I took personally, that
Mm.
I think when you hear about how the other side thinks about it, really weren't that way. And it made me think about all the things I would have done differently when I was dating, that, I found out too late.
Like, give us an example.
When I was dating, I was very anxious, and I would always be worried about turning the other person off, and sort of interpreting their signals as if they were interested in me, to see if they were interested in me or not. I think I get through age and through this podcast and through speaking to Jared, I think that the owning your standard, and, almost thinking about it in the reverse way. And used to say this thing like, date like a CEO. It's like, date someone and see if they're fitting what you're looking for. Don't worry about turning them off.
She realized that nothing turns us off.
No, I think it's more about like asking for what you want is actually
Yeah.
more empowering than just taking whatever someone gives to you.
Totally.
And
Yeah.
I think that was a big way I used to date, was just to kind of like judge someone's actions based on what it said about if they liked me, and not really thinking about if I liked them. And I think just even it sounds so simple and so obvious, but I think when we're in our 20s, a lot of the times that's just not how we're thinking about dating. And I think it's partially a confidence thing. Partially it's just like a way of like owning the world and owning, your own confidence that just I think is a lot more empowering way to date. And I wish I had done more of that when I was single.
Same for both of us too. I think we've arrived at the same conclusions after doing our podcast for so long.
Right.
Comparing to 2017 when you started to now, do you find that daters are experiencing similar issues or different challenges than 8 years ago?
It's gotten angrier.
Yes.
I think it's
Yeah.
gotten angrier.
We hear that too.
You
Yep.
know, it's gotten tribalized, male versus
TikTok
female. TikTok
also-
hasn't helped that.
helped.
And sometimes I feel like I bring this up and I don't want to be too much on this subject because I'm like, I don't know if the everyday Jim or Joe is like seeing TikTok the way I am, but if I'm seeing it and feeling it this much, they must be feeling it at least a little bit. So I just think the tenor right now is, people really dragging each other down, male, female,
Yes.
all sides. And it's all just fake. Like it doesn't feel real to me because at the end of the day, you find someone, then all was just a dream. It's like all of it went away. I wasn't a big piece of shit to the women out there. I wasn't a big piece of shit to men. Until it's not working out, everyone's horrible. Then it does. And your person's the best. Everyone else was horrific. No, everyone was just trying to get to the best place for them. And that includes feelings getting hurt along the way. And, I think that's the biggest difference. Like, I do think these problems were the same. Like,
yes.
I think the issues people had were the same. They just weren't, it just didn't feel, and maybe this is us getting older. Like, it just didn't feel as heated. I don't know if you guys feel that way.
I think there's a fatigue, and that sort of like leads to a kind of a simmering anger because people, the apps now have been around since 2012. What is 2020? It's like 13 years.
They haven't changed that much either. Like the innovation has been pretty slow on them.
They're pretty much, pretty much the same. I think when they started, they were more stigmatized. It wasn't super like cool to be on them. Now, of course, no one, there's no judgment in meeting someone off of an app, but almost like the flip side of that, I think, is that people are overly reliant on them and that people have sort of used them to replace dating. And then they're on them for so long that they become sort of like silently enraged by the fact that they're kind of just doing the same thing over and over again. And they're a crutch and it's so easy to use, but it kind of doesn't feel as good. And so I think there's just this general feeling that if you've been dating for a while and you're on the apps for a while, it just doesn't, there's something that just doesn't feel as exciting maybe as it used to be when you were more likely to meet someone in person.
I think I was going to say, I agree with Jared, what you said, like of all, like the problems it's always been dating is hard. That's never like been easy for any generation, but for right now, it's just so public. And I think even like Jordana, what you were saying about apps, like I remember the days with dating websites where we had usernames that people were like hidden and like you would go home and like do it on your computer, like away from people. And now people are just like swiping freely and talking about dating so publicly that it kind of brings like the worst of it because no one's going to be like, oh, let me go like talk about all the great experiences I've had. Like, I'm not going to like, like when you're like with someone, you're not like, oh my God, my boyfriend is the best. You're like talking about like what is going wrong because that's like easier to bond over.
And that gets you more views online.
Yes.
If you're like a creator, if anyone who's a creator probably knows that talking about their dating life and especially probably talking about the problems in their dating life is probably outperforming most of the other content that they're doing. So there's really a lot of reward, and incentive to making, kind of being a little negative about it.
It magnifies it.
It's everything too. Like, dating could be politics, could be sports. Like I was just listening to a sports podcast. They were talking about like, the talking heads after every football weekend and the exhaustion. I think like I'm not exhausted by dating as much as I'm exhausted by dating talk now. Like, I'm like,
oh my God,
we're the problem.
Yeah. It's like,
feel that. We are the problem.
Like, but that's the thing, like, our clips, we don't go viral. It's hard. It becomes exhausting then to see like, I saw the other day, I'm exhausted by this. I didn't even tell Jordana this. I saw there's like an old woman who's on TikTok. She like looks like the grandma from The Nanny. And she goes on TikTok and she does like, you should go get a drink. Like she's doing, it's, Guy with the Sign is like the least creative person I've ever seen in my entire life. He's just like a marketing scheme. Like it's just like he takes things he's already seen on the internet and he puts it on a sign. And now that goes viral because it's a guy in public with a sign. And oh my God, and so people who haven't seen this hacky thing that he's repeating, he's just showing it in a different light. Like I have the least respect for Guy with the Sign. I think it's like the most horrific account. It's never
Noted.
Never original. I've never seen an original creative thing from him except The Sign, which is creative. Now, I guess he is.
And now back to the grandma.
I guess he is a genius. So now let's get to this hack grandma. So the grandma is just repeating things, and I get tagged in a bunch of this grandma's videos, and she's just saying stuff. She's like, no dating apps for the summer, and go to a bar, and don't take out your phone. This is all stuff. Again, it's diet and exercise. No one owns these opinions, but I'm seeing the stuff we said for years. And I'm like, this idea of go to Bar Pizzolino. It's a great bar to meet people in the West Village. It's a great area where people are out, and put your phone away and make a promise to yourself that I'm not going to look at my phone. And then I see it from like, the grandma from The Nanny in her kooky sunglasses. And everyone's like, oh my God. And she's got good advice. And I commented, I was like, it sounds like her social media person listens to a podcast that I've been on before. And then the social media manager responded. She goes, no, now she's got to be passive aggressive. She writes, I used to listen to the U Up podcast. Haven't listened for years, by the way. But
thanks
if
for
this
that.
is something you're doing, we'll take it down. So it's like the grandma is a puppet. The grandma is just repeating lines she's been given by a woman who listened to our show, who then took the only way to be reasonable is to be kooky old New York woman. Like I got to dress up. I guess we've got to, and it's like.
Put your wig on.
Right.
Yeah.
Like we've had a great show. You guys have had a great show, a reasonable show, a thoughtful show, an entertaining show, a funny show. And now it gets exhausting. I mean, now I'm just ranting and raving. I'll shut up. But
I have this thought all the time, Jared. I think we're just vessels for delivering messages. And some people will resonate with us as the deliverer of the message, or they don't. And then sometimes like you and I could say the same thing, and then it would totally resonate with someone and totally just not register for someone else. So we just have to keep delivering these messages, because I think that is our purpose, is to just be a vessel.
Right.
And just keep repeating it. It'll click with someone.
I want to shift a little off of our soapbox here.
Back to the guy with the sign.
Let me put on my nightgown and fun earrings, and then I'll tell you dating advice from that.
Jordana, I'm curious because it affects me as well. So I'm speaking from someone curious. But,
Sure.
You obviously shift from, starting a podcast when you're just starting to date someone in a newer relationship, and now you're married.
Mm-hmm.
How does that, do you think, change your perspective on dating and the podcast and where you are today?
Yeah, I think a lot of people think that, and I was probably one of them, that finding a relationship will solve all my problems. And once I find them, it's going to be all easy and downhill. And that was definitely not the case for me. I think there was a lot that you learn about yourself when you're dating someone. There's a lot. I mean, I wouldn't say it's easy, but I think that's just the first part, is finding someone who's willing to do the work with you. And then the second part is learning how to communicate with this person who's has a different brain than you, and learning how to compromise, and learning the behaviors that you used to have that you thought were fun and cute and quirky, which are actually not always that way to someone you're with, and vice versa. And I think one thing I heard from my sister, who's a therapist, where she was like, you have to be married to marriage. Find someone who's married to marriage, because it's not always the best Instagram highlight reel that we all see online. Like there is a lot of work that goes into it. I think it's worth it in the end. And I think it's almost like the cumulative benefit of how long you're spending with someone and how much you're investing in them and how much you are getting to know them as a person definitely pays off. But there's many moments where you have to like really want it to keep to like work through something.
Yeah. Do you ever get sick of talking about dating now that you're married? I mean, like, are you like, I'm sick of talking about these apps or ghosting or whatever you guys are experiencing?
No, I love talking about dating. I think there's moments where I feel more removed or I have to remind myself what it was like because I was, I was single for what I thought was a while, but like, now I look back and it's like not that long of a time. I think, at 27, it felt, and then being single in my 20s, through my 20s felt like a long time. Now I'm like, it's compared to a lot of things, it's really not that long. But you do have to remind yourself of what it feels like or like what the anxiety can feel like or what the pressure can feel like, because sometimes you do lose a little bit of that. Now I've been married almost 4 years. Like there is a sense of, I still love the topic. I still love interpersonal relationships. I still love relationship dynamics, dating dynamics. But that feeling of remembering what it felt like to be broken up with or to not get a text back is something you do kind of need to rebring yourself back to, I think, to relate to a lot of listeners.
I can definitely relate to that. I think the benefit of like, being married or finding that like significant relationship is that you have more clarity. You can kind of look back at everything and be like, okay, things worked out the way they were supposed to work out. I went through that heartbreak because it was meant to be. Like you're able to have like that bird's eye view. But I do agree with you is like sometimes you need to remind yourself and pull it back in.
Right.
Yeah. And you and your husband met through mutual friends, right?
Yeah, we were introduced by my friend. My friend from college was dating his friend from high school, and I asked my friend's new boyfriend if he had anyone to set me up with.
Okay. I was going to ask, like, if you were dating in today's world, how would you go about meeting people? But I feel like people should do that too. Just like ask.
Yeah, I think no one wants, especially like when you're younger, you don't want to ask. You feel like it'll come off desperate, like, because you're basically, it's vulnerable to ask. It's vulnerable to be like, I'm looking for something that I don't have yet. Could you help me find that? But I almost feel like that's almost a sign that you are more emotionally ready for a relationship if you're putting yourself out there more or know what you want.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously I think the apps they get like vilified. People think they're either amazing or horrible. And I think the answer is somewhat in between. I think it's like anything else. Like you want to be the one in control of the way you're using it. You don't want it to be sort of like the victim of the algorithm and the masses and just kind of only staying in at night and only using the apps or being on an app in a bar. I think it's like great to have as like one tool of many for meeting people. And I think where people get upset with it or get angry about it is when it's the only thing they're using and they're kind of like burnt out from it.
I just want to add something on to what Jordana said. Like, even if you're not ready to ask your friend's boyfriend or friend's husband to be set up, or if they know any single guys, or if they've given you the answer in the past, I don't know anybody, go hang out with those guys. Like, I think hanging out with your friend's boyfriend, friend's husband, like, I know it just from me, like, if I'm around someone, you want to make yourself Coca-Cola. Like, Coca-Cola has commercials. You'd be like, why the hell would Coca-Cola? Everyone knows Coca-Cola. Why would they have a commercial? Well, when you're thirsty and you think of soda, they want to be the first thing you think of. And they want to have a great commercial campaign to really imprint themselves in your brain. And I think if you thought of your time spent with friends as like, and you're having fun with your friends and you're having fun with their new spouse or their new, and you're taking interest in their new whoever they're dating, that person, when they get presented with single, oh, I'm single. I was just with Jordana's friend and they are actually, this is how people speak. They go, they're actually pretty cool.
Right.
And which doesn't sound like a great recommendation.
It's a compliment.
But that is like, that is how people speak. And that's a great compliment from guy who's in a relationship that doesn't give a fuck about anyone else but himself and making sure that his relationship's okay. So, you know who's actually pretty cool? We hung out with her, and it wasn't about Jordana asking who are your single friends. It was about Jordana genuinely trying to get to know the new boyfriend, the new whatever, and you're the first person they think of. So I think that, like, in addition to like asking them and being, pulling up your pants and being like, I'm going to ask. It might be just nice to make a new friend, and hang out with them.
It's putting it out there. Putting it out. Your energy is out there
Right.
too. If you tell your friends you're single, we find nowadays a lot of people try to hide their dating status because they're trying to be elusive. They're trying to
No.
be like, oh yeah, there's like there's someone in my life, or I have this thing.
There's no one
I'm
in your
this
life.
thing.
Well, that to me is also why people deal with such emotional destruction from dating. We call it like dating in the alleys versus dating on Main Street. Dating in the alleys is going on a date with a dating app person. No one knows about it. No one's going to find out about it. No one's going to ask about it. Well, the more alleyway dates you do, the more you get to know someone that has never really been tested or vetted by the people you love the most in your life. So like a Main Street date, which is like, hey, I'm out with my friends. We're all getting beers in this fun beer garden and watching the football game. Come meet up. If they don't come, that goes on the resume. That's them opting for alleyway dates versus a Main Street date. Main Street date gets you to know the friends, there's consequences. I've met their friends. I've signed, again, to go back to like what I've learned, like I knew a breakfast after sleeping over a girl's house was a bigger deal, but like, was I ever put face to face with like, opting into this friend hang that like, oh, you've met all these people. Why would you go to that if you didn't like me? So, and you get to judge them. You get to go, let's see how they work in this dynamic. Are they game or are they just a miserable fuck? Like,
I think that goes back to what Jordana was saying, and I feel so strongly about this. You and I talk all the time. It's not an either or on apps versus meeting people in the wild or through your friends. Like for years, like I feel like most of the people I dated were people I met through friends. And then the last two boyfriends, including my now husband, was through apps. And what was beneficial for that is that it was giving you a network of people that you had no access to. But then the other benefit, like you were saying, Jared, is like there are people that are close in network that you have familiarity to and you just integrate into your life. So both are good. It's like, why not use both tools at your disposal? Like, why limit yourself to one versus the other?
Right. And this blended thing, like the way to blend them is like you meet someone in the apps. Okay, that's in secret on your own. Like, wouldn't you assume that anyone you meet on an app that you have a good first date with would get along with your friends and would be a fun addition to a Saturday daytime hang? If you can't do that, if you're going, well, I don't know, maybe you didn't like them that much. Oh, they, like if they don't fit in with the people that you like really enjoy without making a change, maybe they're not the right one. Maybe the date wasn't that great.
But here's my little challenge to that though, because I kind of feel like two people need to incubate their relationship first a little bit, because I need to have clarity around whether I like this person and want to spend time with them before I expose them to my network. Is there a good timeline of when it's too soon or when's the right time? Because I have exposed dates to friends a little too soon before I even gain clarity, and then now your friends are asking you about that random guy and you're like, shit, I shouldn't have introduced him because I wasn't even into him in the first place.
I think if they're your good friends, you say it didn't work out and it's over. Like I think the embarrassment, like I think that's the one thing that I can't really tell someone how to feel, but like I don't think I think you'll get more clarity from seeing them around your friends than you do without your friends. I hear what you're saying. Like, I don't want to have to like the mental, the exhaustion of like, what happened to Robert? I like that guy. And then having to remind yourself, oh, maybe he was a good guy, and getting depressed by it again. Like, this is all kind of growing up shit, like,
right.
I hear what you're saying. And I do understand, like, what happened? I like that person. Then you got to like look up at the moon and you're like, well, I wonder if Robert's looking at the same moon as me, like it does. I agree with what you're saying, but I also think like, if you're looking to like, I want to know sooner than later, with the so much of like, I don't want to waste time. And it's like, I'm not saying like date one, hey, let's do it with, let's go all to without, go bring him to Thanksgiving. I guess like to me, like a third date planned, but this like 2.5 date that like randomly happens, that happens with people that are like gonna like be together anyways. Like that, like, and Jordana, like, I love what she said about like finding someone who's willing to do the work with you, which I think makes it less personal.
Yes.
Because it's not, I don't think you're good looking enough. I don't think, that's where like timing comes in. I'm not ready for the work. You seem great, but I'm not ready for the work. That's something I wish I knew how to say younger. Like, I wish I had said that to people. Like, because that's like when someone's like, I've been put in the position of like, I've ended things. And then it's like, why? And I'm like, I really wish I had a good reason right now. Like I've like kind of like been crushed by that question. And I think that's a good answer. I'm not, and it takes responsibility for it. It makes it less personal. It's not saying, well, you weren't the match. It's just, I'm not ready for the work that goes, because relationships are work. And it's like, someone who's showing up to it doesn't sound like work, but it is, showing up to your day hang with your friends. That's work. You got to put on the hard hat. Like, I'm not going to like just be a schlub. I got to get dressed up. I gotta like, fake my excitement for your friend's stupid story. Like, I gotta like do a lot of these things.
Or even the real, like, that's like fun masquerading as work. But like work is like, you're annoyed at me. And I either have to like figure out what I did and how we can get to the bottom of it and how we can work through it. Or I could be like, I don't really want to do this.
Right.
Yeah.
Or I could just look at my phone and, judge other people's problems. Yeah. Like,
yeah. I remember like when I was in a situationship and one of my friends just being like, look, even like planning a dinner and like accounting for another person, not everyone wants to do that. Like, people just want to like do things on their own timeline, and you have to want to be in a relationship. And I look back at all these people that I took it so personally that like they didn't want to be with me. They're all still single.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
15 years later,
Yeah,
I'm
they
like,
are.
I think they're just, that's what they wanted and that's what they want. And that's cool.
Yeah,
I wish I knew that earlier.
Yeah.
I guess on that note, getting to Jared.
Oh, sorry. I haven't shut the fuck up.
No, last time we talked to you was over the pandemic and you were living with your girlfriend at the time.
Oh, look at that face. That was a priceless face.
Well, yeah, we're married, 3 kids. We're in the suburbs. It's crazy how things work out. Life's really moved on.
I guess, how has your perspective changed now that you've gone through that breakup? Do you feel like what you were saying earlier of like, I just wasn't in the right place, or like what's changed in your life since then?
I would have done things differently then. Look back, everything's changed and stayed the same. I think that's the weird part. Like, life moved on and things kind of move forward. I'm now living in Delray Beach, Florida. I decided this summer to get a change up from New York. I'd been there for 18 years. I was in this apartment that the walls were kind of closing in a little bit. It was a little small. It wasn't really a good lifestyle. It was a good lifestyle until it wasn't. It was like, it just felt like I was outgrowing it, and the breakup was hard. It's hard again for me to get over the hump to to get to that next phase with someone, to be in a position where a breakup could happen like that again. And that's part of the doing the work thing. That's why I relate to it so much. Cause I'm like, I'm I've been a lot of 3-monther and met some great people since then, but it's a lot for me to get to that next level. And I say that, wishing I could be a little bit different there. I wish I had the the rose colored glasses on sometimes, but I think it's been equally hard. And it's interesting. I think I relate more to the audience now than I did before. When we started the podcast, I was your kind of older brother who's still single and figuring it out, and now I'm a weathered grandfather.
Seen some things.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah.
Wait, how does that relate to your listeners?
They've seen some things.
Some of
the listeners have seen some things.
Yeah, they've seen some things, and the way we're written to about listen, I moved to Florida. The one big difference between Florida and New York feels like, and this is also the difference between ages. At 40, everyone's got a story. Everyone's got something to reveal. And I'm not surprised, but no one's story is one that makes me run away. They're not, it's just their story. When you're younger, especially when you're in New York, it's like, I'm pursuing. This is who I'm going to be. This is who I'm looking to be. And when you're out of New York and I'm in this like smaller beachy town, this is what I've done. This is where, what happened that got me here. And those are two very different perspectives. So
I want to dive into this even more, but before we do, let's take a quick break to hear from our partners.
Jordana, in your years of working with Jared and as a witness to his experiences, what do you think has been the biggest shift you've witnessed in him?
In dating. You're saying, yeah.
Or if there's something else. Yeah.
Something else.
He eats a lot more now. It's very weird.
Let's get unhinged. Let's do it.
I think Jared's very cautious, kind of like from, I mean, he said that he would say this, I think, about himself, but I think that seeing, we get so many emails and we talk about dating so much that I do feel like he's not in an enviable position of, again, knowing so much. And like, I think that it's really good in some ways. He's very careful about the way that he treats women. He's very careful about, any not over promising and not doing that. But I think maybe it also makes him a little bit more afraid to do the wrong thing, which might be stifling at some times. But I think in a good way, he's like, because he knows so much about how women think about dating, how much it means to them, how much pressure a lot of people feel about it, how heavy it feels. I think that he does have a lot of caretaking, and he really makes sure that if he's not interested or if he doesn't see something going somewhere, he makes sure that he is ending it, pretty quickly, which I think is good. I think that's something that
I'm trying. There's someone listening right now being like, really?
Like, what?
Not my experience.
It was early for me. It was earlier than it would have been.
Yeah, it's all relative.
It would have gone on more
6
more months. Yeah.
It's all relative. But like, you're never, I think you're just, what someone is thinking more than you used to, and I do think that makes you more caretaking with other people's emotions, which is a good thing.
I weirdly believe that I will be a good boyfriend to someone one day, but someone could be
definitely.
like, what a piece of shit, fucking grifter that guy sounds like. But I do believe that, but I'm like also like incredibly afraid. I agree with Jordana. Like I'm like very much like, and then sometimes it like feels like I'm being a narcissist. Sometimes it feels like I'm, who the fuck do you think you are? What are you saving this boyfriend, this magical boyfriend for some lucky woman? Like I feel like a douche. There's a lot of self-doubt that goes into that too.
But I think you also take ownership that like you're not even sure if it's not about not finding the right person. It's about you kind of feeling like you're ready to do it.
Right.
Again, it's not less personal.
Am I ready for that next step of life? It does. And I think that, if I'm to speak for the lonely male epidemic, that we hear so much about.
Yeah.
That's the thing that doesn't get a lot of empathy is like, I do think a lot of men are thinking in an old school, not new age way. And a lot of women are holding them to like an old school way of like, are you ready? Am I ready to be the man? Am I ready to be like in, the patriarch of some sort of family? And that feels like way too much of a self-given responsibility considering the way of the world. Like you're going to be like in a 2-income household, you're going to be, like it's not as serious as it once was, but I think it's being treated that way, mentally.
That's interesting.
So
like the pressure isn't gone. Like
because then you do hear from the internet too, like the be a man, pay for the date, all those things, which I don't think are wrong. I'm just saying they're mixed messages, and it does, it does feel like the responsibility. When you say like pay for the first date, of course I'm for that. That's what makes me feel good. But then you go, well, I better be ready to pay for every date and be a man forever, but that's not the case. That's not what a lot of women are asking for. So
Mhm.
it's hard to like mix that up in your head. I can understand. And I'm here, though I'm on the podcast talking about it. So think of the person that aren't
Right.
talking about this 17,000 hours a week, like.
Right. So Yue and I watched your 37 and single
Yes.
comedy show on a retreat
So
that we
good.
had, and we loved it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So people should check that out. But I guess like we talked about kind of like what's been different for you going in like after ending a big relationship and kind of being a little more gun shy. What do you think that's changed the most in the dating scene this time around? Outside of the anger that we talked about.
Other than the anger, I think. See, I personalize everything, so I would say for me the change is trying to trying to take it seriously and think of things that, like, because I whether this sounds delusional or not, I do want to see what the next episode of my TV show looks like, and I'm kind of living in repeats, and I definitely think. I think, the ability to be on your own and like this idea that like maybe maybe I won't get excited or like maybe my life won't be what I grew up in, and it's like I'm saying that at 40, it's like, Jared, you stupid fucking idiot. Of course it's not gonna be the same as you grew up in. Like your parents were married, at 25 and you were born at 20 there when they were 27. You are going to live a different life than your parents had for you. But it's like, I guess coming to terms with that and like being okay with that. I think that's been a very, 40's the new 30, 20's the new 30. You know what I mean? Like when to compare ourselves to our parents is like, I think letting go of that has been like a hard thing.
That's really relatable, I think, for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also kind of liberating. Like, I don't want to live the life that my parents did. I think my parents felt like marriage and kids was the only option.
Mm-hmm.
I asked my mom the other day, I was like, why did you have me? And she's like, that's what everybody did. And this is
heartwarming.
I think it was even more, and it was more intense for them because they lived in China and there was a one-child policy. And my mom, when she started work, she was given 6 months to get pregnant. And if you don't get pregnant in those 6 months, you have to wait a whole other year. So that's how you're allotted a time to get pregnant. So she's
do you
like,
get off?
well,
Like you get off from work to be able to?
No, you don't get off from work. You still,
Oh
you still got to do that on your own time.
Okay.
But if you miss the window, you have to wait a whole other year. And she's like, I didn't want to wait a whole other year. So your dad and I did it. That time
And
window.
then also one kid that probably makes you feel like, all right, well, if ever, it feels like, everyone wants even more than one. I should at least have, I should take advantage of the free one that I get. Right.
Yeah. I got to get this one. Yeah. It's my allotment for a lifetime. But now looking back, I'm like, I'm so glad I don't have that because I'm forced into a decision. But on the other hand, I think, which is what so many people experience, is I have so many options that I don't actually know what the decision is. I almost want a little direction of, someone telling me maybe this is the path for you. And Jordana, I'm curious for you. If you were given a hall pass for a month, let's say.
This podcast is very different than I thought it would be. So, Jordana, who are you fucking? The Dateable podcast.
And your mission was to have the most epic dating experience possible for a month in your hall pass.
Yeah.
What would you do? What would be your strategy?
I would date like a 45-year-old divorced mom. I think I would have
the Bethany Frankel method.
Yeah. I would have no timeline. I would just be thinking about I would do it so differently than I did when I was in my 20s. I would date just based on what what was making me happy. I wouldn't think about I wouldn't overthink about if other people liked me. I think I would not be so worried about where everything was going. I would try to enjoy my dates more. I would be in the moment. And that's kind of how I think of how someone who's like not in a rush, someone with no timeline, who's just like having fun. I think about like a mom who just got divorced.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think I don't know. I always think about, and we'll ask you, is there any advice that you've, logically you're like, okay, I've heard this. I know I should follow, but I just struggle personally to actually do it. from your show? Like, is there anything that you're just like, oh, I know I should be going, like thinking this way or doing things this way, but I do the total opposite?
Yeah. I think, well,
I mean,
when
You're like, where do
Yeah.
I start?
Yeah. I think, I'm in a relationship and, I know what the right way to fight is. I know how like the healthy way to fight is. You're supposed to, do it when you're calm and bring up things and not accuse anyone of doing anything. But like in reality, if I get mad in the moment, I'm going to be like not fighting the right way. And then afterwards I look back and I'm like, this is embarrassing. I host a dating show. Like I'm like yelling at someone.
You're like, I'm not using the I language right now.
This is making me feel like you're being an asshole. No. Right. Do you know what I mean? Like there's like the textbook,
not the right way?
Psychiatry.
You're labeling.
Right. Exactly. So that's my that's the one that's I don't follow that all the time. I try to.
We just did a summer dating challenge. I did a summer dating challenge where it was delete the apps, go to a bar or restaurant once a week, no phone, keep it in your pocket, join a gym class that you haven't done before and go back, go there repeatedly, and then hang out with one married couple a month. That was the challenge. And I gotta say, the phone and the bar thing, so hard, so much more difficult. Going to a restaurant alone and being off the phone, and kind of like, our advice wasn't to like, I did it the whole summer. I enjoyed it. It felt good. Deleting the apps was necessary for me at the time. You go to a bar and you're like looking around like a rooster, is someone going to, is it going to happen tonight? And it's like, you can't live your life that way. You have to go to the dinner and try and talk to the bartender, and maybe you make eye contact with someone, but just being out. And it was way more difficult than I would want to admit, and
You cheated.
every now and again I'd pull out my phone and I'd say, "Oh baby, I'll never hide you again."
That's your girlfriend.
That's
My
your
girlfriend.
primary relationship.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know those clickers, or what are those things when you get like at Cheesecake Factory and it'll buzz?
Oh yeah, when your table's
ready. Yeah, whatever that thing is called. I've seen people have that on their table, not their phone, but have that on their table, and every once in a while tap it, thinking it's their phone. Have you ever seen that?
Really?
Like,
Oh
I
my
think we're just so wired to always be tethered to our phones that I think it's like a comfort thing, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a phone here.
When I tape a podcast, I charge it across the room. I don't even I have to keep it away from myself as if I'm like a caged animal. Like it's like crazy.
Yeah.
We're all this way now. It's so
We're
bad.
all this way.
It's so bad.
It's so entrenched. And even I go to set the alarm for the morning. I'm like, get off the phone. Get off the phone. Then I go to set the alarm. Got to do it on the phone. And then I go okay, get off the phone. It's enough. Jared, off the phone. Then I go, I listen to a podcast to go to bed. I got to go back on my phone and listen to the podcast to go to bed. I'm like, I almost have to create this weird other tech scheme to do a workaround.
So now if anyone texts Jared, they should know that there's no excuse for him not answering.
Right.
He just said.
Now we know.
He just revealed
We just
to
exposed
himself.
you.
Is 20 hours a day too long phone screen time?
Would you consider that a luxury problem?
Yes. I mean, well, no, I think everyday phone addiction creeps more into less of a luxury problem. I think that's a real thing.
I just feel like if I looked back on when we first started this podcast, we were not nearly as phone addicted as we are now.
No. Yeah.
Are there any other takes that you guys both had when you first started that you look back on and were like, wow, we were just so off base? Because UA and I definitely have those.
I've been right about everything in dating since minute one. No,
So humble.
I know one, Jared.
What's that?
I feel like we used to be very anti-coffee dates.
Yes.
Used to say they were a downgrade.
And
Okay.
Mhm.
And what changed your mind?
well, I went on a bunch of coffee dates and I loved them. I thought it was a great way. I was very present of mind. There was an out. It didn't go forever.
Mhm.
Yeah. No pressure.
There are also really nice coffee places that don't feel like a downgrade anymore. I can reference a bunch in New York. You're in San Francisco, Julie. I can reference a bunch there.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that there's a better coffee thing now than there was, but also it's good. I think in the I think if like, especially the dating apps, I think if the dating apps, the minute you matched and you started talking and you agreed to a date, you just met for 15 minutes, it would be better because we would go, oh, I'll just do the 15-minute and see if this is like ready for a real date. And some people do FaceTime, but I'm like, sometimes you just need that, like, just see what the vibe is. Coffee date is kind of like a little bit more than that. Like, it's just like, it feels like a good in between to like, do I want to spend, another
More time,
the real time and the effort into it? But yeah, that's definitely one. Any others that we were wrong? I was wrong about, I think in my life, I was wrong about just go along. Like just go to the next step. Just go. It's what you do. I wish I valued excitement more and just like being excited for the next step and realizing that like you're not excited, so don't do the next step. And hey, I'm not excited is a pretty good answer for that.
It's a good gut check.
I would also say, I think when we started, I was very much like, you shouldn't text a guy. You shouldn't don't text to confirm. Make sure he's texting you. Don't ask for what you want. And I think that, like, you know what I mean? Like, he should know, like, he should be chasing you. But I think it's so much more empowering now and so much of a better use of your own time and more like, valuing your own time to just ask for what you want, to like wait for, we talked about this so recently. It's like to wait for someone to confirm the text and then to say, like, if they don't confirm by this time, I'm out. I think it's something I used to think. And now I'm like, why would I waste my whole day waiting for a text from you when I could text and find out?
And it feels like more empowering to do that.
Right.
Like that's what we were taught as women, but it's like so the opposite.
Completely. Yeah. So I've definitely changed my tune on that one.
If we were to just change the vibe of dating today, because we've talked about how there's just so much anger and negativity. And in fact, Julie and I did a YouTube live yesterday. The whole time we were talking about how we need to be more open to creating more positive experiences in dating. And someone in the comments was like, you girls just preach feminism and then complain about men. That's all you do. And we're like, wow, it's so opposite of what we just said. But these are kind of the
like clearly weren't
positivity.
Like, quit.
Everything's horrible.
And he goes, quit yapping.
That's
how you know you found a good one.
Yeah, this is
the podcast.
Right.
You
move on.
entered the wrong chat, sir.
So how... let's just, if we're changing up the vibe and changing up the whole feeling around dating to something more positive or hopeful, what is one piece of advice you'd give to daters today, or one action you would tell daters to take today that can just make that little shift?
I hang out with your friends and family and tell them that you're single and want to meet someone. Don't be embarrassed of it. And I think the feedback, if you're married and you hear this from someone, when your friend says or your family member says they're single and they want to meet someone, that doesn't mean that they're doing badly. If you respond by going, "Aw," you're being an asshole. You're being a total piece of shit. Like, I can't tell you how annoying it is to be like, yeah, I'd love to meet as they're like cleaning their engagement ring. Like I think like it's the most annoying sound in the world, and people only do it for themselves. No one feels better being awed. Like, so when someone says, yeah, I'm single, I'd love to meet someone, it doesn't mean my life is bad. It means my life's pretty good. I'd love for it to be even better than it is right now. I'm ready for a new phase and a new thing in life. And that's the end of my TED Talk. Like I think that's it'll hurt way less to get the annoying questions than it does to keep it all bottled up. I think that's a positive way to go.
Yeah, I totally second that. I think more time in the real world. It doesn't even have to just be like trying to date in the real world, but just being in the real world, making your life as full as possible so you're the best version of yourself. Because then, you talked about this, both of you guys talked about this on our podcast, where you were saying that you're going to be a better dater, a better buyer of people that you're dating on consumer on the apps or wherever you're dating, if you feel like you're, worthy and deserving of love and that it's there for you and you don't have to worry that it's never going to come. And I think that if you bring that energy into dating, like, you're going to meet someone a lot faster than if you're dating scared.
Yeah. I mean, I think that brings me to my biggest takeaway of this, Jordana. We have a part in our book called You're the CEO of Your Love Life.
yeah.
So very in line with what you were saying. And I think ultimately it's like we are in control. Like we can control it and ask for what we want or ask our friends and family to be set up or not even set up, but just introduced. And we own what we put out there. And I think like being able to look in our past experiences. I mean, both of you clearly have a podcast documenting them all, but all of our listeners too. It's like we all have a past. We all have experiences we've learned from. We can see now more clearly whether we're in a relationship or not. Doesn't even matter, but like what went right and what we want to keep doing versus the areas that we want to tweak a little and we want to change our approach. So I think there's so much benefit of learning and just continuously using the whole dating experience as a growth experience.
Yeah. And my biggest takeaway is there are always going to be challenges in dating. And the issues that we faced 10 years ago probably aren't that different 10 years later, but it is what we do about that, what we choose to do about that can change. And whether you want to hear this from a grandma in funny earrings and a wig or a man holding a sign, it doesn't really matter. And I think it ultimately just means if you're seeking change and you're seeking for a different outcome, it is in your control to do something about it. But there's nothing we can do about all the crappy things we see in dating. I mean, dating is hard. Dating is challenging. We're not going to change that. That's out of our control. But let's do something about what you can individually do about it.
And bring back the coffee date. That's my last
There you
takeaway.
go.
Let's try it
Bring
out.
it back. Bring it back.
Well, thank you both for being here. It's been so interesting to hear both of your journeys and just what you've learned along the way. Where can people find you all in your wonderful podcast?
The U Up podcast comes out every Wednesday and Friday. You can follow it on Instagram, u.up.podcast, or you can follow us individually on Instagram. I'm at Jordana Abraham.
And I'm at Jared Freed. And yeah, check us out. We're on YouTube. We on all the podcast platforms. And,
Jared's on the road.
I'm on the
Does
road.
A really, really great stand-up.
I don't know when this comes out, but if anyone's in Winnipeg, please come to my show. It's going to be me performing for the wait staff. But I have a whole tour that you can go to my website, jaredfreed.com. And right now, the subject of my stand-up that is going on is about going to Europe alone and traveling alone and kind of the questions you get from people that like about your life when you are older and single, like, and how hard it is to speak up about that. And I think a lot of people, if you listen to this show and like dating talk, you'll enjoy the stand-up. So you'll feel seen, so to speak.
Your Eat, Pray, Love.
That's right.
All right. We're going to wrap up this episode. Stay dateable.
Oh, it's the best one yet. Love it.
Thank you.
Standing ovation.
Amazing.